Alright, in the last health rule scene, we looked at the clean basic flow. Tags, armor, affinity, preview, and apply. In this scene, we're taking that one step further. Now we're looking at crits, execute thresholds, attacker side buffs, and capacity shields. So this is still the real health system pipeline, but with more moving parts involved. Before we press play, let's quickly look at the setup. On the teachable panel, we have the attacker and victim bindings. The attacker matters more in this scene because we're applying an attacker side multiplier through the damage context. The victim is still the object that owns the health system and the damage rules. Now looking at the enemy setup, we've got the health system as the core runtime component. The damage rule. Hub collects and runs the damage rules. The crit rule can randomly multiply incoming damage. The execute threshold. Rule changes the hit once the target is low enough on health. And the capacity shield can absorb or reduce damage before it reaches health. This video is focused on how these mechanics interact through the pipeline. Alright, let's run it. Like before, teach text is off for the video, just to keep the panel cleaner on screen. On the setup tab, we can see the basic bindings and inputs. We have a raw damage amount, and we can choose whether the hit is melee, ranged, or both. Those tags still matter, because other rules like armor or execute behaviour can respond to them. Now let's move to the rules tab. The first rule here is the crit rule. Crits are chance based, so preview can show the current deterministic pipeline result, but it cannot promise what a random crit roll will do in the next real hit. That's why this panel also shows an expected average. It gives you a rough idea of how crit chance and crit multiplier affect damage over time, but individual hits can still spike higher when the crit actually lands. Next is the execute threshold rule. This rule only becomes active when the victim's health is low enough. Once active, it turns the hit into an execute style hit. In this setup, that means the hit bypasses shields and skips armor mitigation. So at high health, target takes the normal route. At low health, execute changes the route. Below that, we have the attacker buff. This is not a victim side rule component. It's applied through the DamageContext.Multiplier. That makes it useful for temporary attacker side scaling, like a power buff, weapon modifier, or ability bonus. The important part is that it stacks cleanly with the rest of the pipeline. It can combine with armor, crits, execute rules, and shields without needing to hardwire that logic into the health system. Now let's look at the shield tab. This scene uses a capacity shield. A capacity shield has its own shield value, and while capacity remains, it can absorb damage before health is touched. It can also apply flat reduction and percentage reduction. So the shield is not just extra health, it has its own behaviour before damage reaches the health system's current health. Here we can enable or disable the shield, adjust its max capacity, change flat and percent reduction, and recharge it back to full. This panel doesn't create shields for you. It expects a supported capacity shield component to exist on the victim. That's intentional, because the panel is showing the real component behaviour, not faking it. Now we'll move to preview and apply. This is where we see everything come together. The preview shows what the health system currently expects the hit to do, including rules and shields. If crit is enabled, we also get an expected average, because the actual applied hit may be higher when a crit roll succeeds. Now when we apply the hit, the real mutation path runs. That means shield capacity may be consumed, health may be reduced, and the result tells us what actually happened. If the hit is absorbed by the shield, the result reports that. If damage reaches health, we see the final applied amount. And if the target drops under the execute threshold, the next hit can behave differently. That's the main point of this scene. The pipeline is not just one flat damage calculation. It's a sequence of decisions. The attacker can scale the hit. Rules can modify or reroute it. shields can absorb it. And execute logic can change the behaviour once the victim is low enough. So compared to the previous rule seen, this one is less about simple math and more about interaction. Crits show why preview and real hits can differ. Execute shows how low health rules can change the route. Attacker buffs show caller side scaling. And capacity shields show how damage can be reduced or absorbed before health changes. That's the key takeaway here. Each piece stays separate, but the health system brings them together through one consistent damage flow.